and welcome back to my channel and to my series where I talk about Final Fantasy VII. Last time I covered Red 13's trial in Cosmo Canyon. If you haven't yet, please go watch that video. This time I'm going to cover Aerith's moving speech in Cosmo Canyon, what that means for her arc, as well as what it means to the players. Before I go into it, I want to acknowledge that some of you might still be playing Rebirth for the first time on the PC. If you haven't passed Cosmo Canyon yet, please come back to this video once you have. I will also be spoiling the ending of Crisis Core Reunion, so if you don't know the ending to that, please watch after you do. Also, this isn't going to be a shipping video at all, so please don't make comments about it. And with that out of the way, let's begin. I feel like in order to really get into why she said what she said at the bonfire in Cosmo Canyon, we need to go back to the beginning. In Traces of Two Paths by Kazushige Nojima, the scenario writer for Final Fantasy VII, Aerith shares her backstory with Tifa. In it, she talks about how she was raised in Hojo's lab while her mother, Ifalna, was being experimented on. Eventually, Aerith's unique Cetra abilities were being made manifest when visions of landscapes, wildlife, and even monsters that she had never seen before plagued her. In order to keep these visions at bay, she started to draw them. Hojo eventually took notice and knew that he had a backup, Ancient, so he started experimenting on Ifalna more aggressively. Since then, she witnessed her mother slowly deteriorate in front of her, day after day. Finally, one day, her mother said that they were going to go on an adventure, and with the help of an assistant named Foz, they made their escape. I'll go over all of this in detail once I'll make the videos about Traces of Two Paths. During their journey, once they made it to the train station in the Sector 5 slums, Ifalna collapsed. Aerith went out for help and eventually found Elmyra, but she didn't know a doctor in the area. Distressed, Aerith returned to her dying mother, who gave her the white materia while saying she was about to return to the planet. When Elmyra finds them, Ifalna grabs her arm to make her final request to take Aerith somewhere safe. Elmyra takes the crying Aerith home with her. At this time, she was also dealing with a lot. Her father-in-law had recently passed and the family business was restructuring. Plus, her husband, Clay, hadn't returned from his leave yet, which was what had brought her to the train station in the first place. She knew, however, that Aerith was in danger because of Shinra. So at first she kept her hidden until they came up with a convincing fake story and name for her. Eventually, she was found out by the Turks. Elmyra made a deal with them, and from then on, Aerith went by her real name. For a while, every night, her mom visited her from the live stream until Aerith saw Clay visiting Elmyra before returning to the planet. That night, Ifalna also left to return to the planet. Over time, Aerith lost a lot of that Cetra connection, unless she visited a place that was concentrated with that kind of energy, like the church. Aerith admitted to Tifa that back then, however, her abilities led to a lot of misunderstandings, and people saw her as a weird kid. She did, however, live near the Leaf House and did play with them from time to time. But Elmyra was also very protective of her, which she did push back against that. During the events of Crisis Core, Zack falls into her church. From there, they started to spend a lot of time together. He became a big influence on her and helped her come out of her shell a little bit. Then he left on that fateful mission to the Nibelheim reactor where the incident went down, and he was kept in a Mako tank with Cloud until they escaped. Aerith waited for him for 5 years, but unfortunately, he died before he could make it back to Midgar. Of course, he exists in one of the pocket worlds, but I have a theory about that I will cover in a future video. Then during Remake, Cloud also falls into her church, and she helps him through the Sector 5 slums until they find Tifa's carriage headed towards Don Corneo's mansion. She starts having a playful dynamic with Cloud, which does help him become more open. When she meets Tifa, they immediately hit it off. I go over their friendship in 2 videos, so please check those out if you haven't already. In the train graveyard, Aerith gets taken away and is faced with a vision of her childhood self getting abandoned during a game of hide and seek. As she's on the ground crying, Cloud calls out to her and saves her from Eligor. Tifa touches her shoulder and says, "Hey, we found you." After Aerith is taken by Shinra after the plate was dropped, Cloud, Tifa, and Barrett go to the Shinra building to rescue her. In Hojo's lab, they also meet Red 13, who shares a connection with her. In her old room, she tells them about how Hojo took her mom every day. Cloud asks her to talk to them, so she explains that she's the last living Cetra and that Shinra has been looking for the Promised Land for a while. While saying this, she looks at her drawings on the wall. Tifa intuitively knows that Shinra thinks that Aerith can lead them to it. Aerith says that she can't. Barrett knows that the Promised Land belongs to her and her people. The Whispers appear and surround her as she's saying that Shinra isn't the biggest threat. She wants to do everything in her power to help them and the planet. However, the Whispers take a part of her every time they touch her, and she feels lost in a maze. Tifa pulls her out and promises that they'll find a way out together. At Destiny's Crossroads, Aerith grabs Cloud to stop him from going after Sephiroth, to tell him that this is the point of no return. Then she touches the Whisper Wall to create a way through. Cloud asks why she stopped him, so she admits that she's not sure. Tifa asks what they'll find on the other side. She answers, freedom. She's scared of it and of the sky. Definitely make a video about the sky later, too. She then explains that the voices they heard were the screams of the planet, howling in pain. Cloud asks if they are because of Sephiroth. She responds that their words don't reach him and are like rain that rolls off of his back. Once the memories are gone, the voices of the planet will be silent. She says that he will say that he is doing all of this to save the planet, but this isn't the way to do it. He is the greatest threat to the planet and has to be stopped. So she asks them to help her because she knows that together they can do it. But if they do, they'll be changing more than fate itself. They'll be changing themselves if they succeed. She thinks that's why she hesitated. I bring this scene up because this is her accepting her role as the last living Cetra, because she has found the people who will help her. And they do, because here is when the party agrees to help her with this mission. Now we get to Rebirth. In Calm, Aerith takes Cloud to the clock tower to pry into what happened with Tifa. She tells him that she would have given anything to have a friend growing up, and says that he shouldn't take Tifa for granted. In Under Junon and Cosmo Canyon, she confides in Red about losing her memories because of the Whispers. In the cargo hold of the Shinra 8 ship, she confides in Tifa about her past, which leads to traces of Aerith from Traces of Two Paths. At Costa del Sol, she spends the day with Tifa and Red. At the Gold Saucer, she spends time with Tifa, Yuffie, and Red while Cloud rests at the Ghost Hotel. There are many moments in the game where she shares laughs and inside jokes with the party and has bonding moments. Finally, we get to Cosmo Canyon. Here she is at the center of where planetology is taught and studied, and she is reminded of her role as the last living Cetra. It was only fitting that she lit the bonfire and was invited to make a speech. She starts with saying that she's an ancient. The last one, in fact. It's been mainly a source of pain for her. She was held against her will, watched, ignored, and even hated since she was young. She felt like her heritage was a curse in that way. If she ever forgot, something would cruelly remind her. It was always the same. She would see some hope, only for it to be taken away. She knew that she would never be normal. She looks down sadly until she looks up at Cloud. I had him encourage her and say, "It's okay." She smiles and nods before changing gears. Her blood has also been a blessing because it brought her to the people that she loves. We then see the camera cut to Barrett, then Tifa, and then Cloud's face. For once, she's okay, happy even. All that pain feels worth it to her. Because she knows that even if she can't live a normal life, what she can do is return their kindness and try to make the most of what she's been given. To end, she bows while everyone applauds. Lanterns are launched into the air. She turns to Cloud to say, "Pretty sappy, huh?" Then the camera pans towards the lights in the sky as she says, "Meant every word, though." There's a lot to say about this scene, and the build up to the scene through the scenes that I brought up. Not only is this an example of foreshadowing of her fate, of which there are many, but also the setup and payoff of an important character arc for her. She grew up being held in Hojo's lab, had to watch her mother deteriorate and slowly die, then grew up as the weird kid who had a strange connection to the planet. She would see things that no one else could. Elmira had to raise her in a way that protected her. Her first love came into her life only to disappear for 5 years. Then Cloud finds her and leads her to the rest of the party. Because of the party, she was able to finally feel acceptance and belonging through friendship. This in turn helped her accept and rise to her role as the last living Cetra. This is a huge reason why her fate has such a powerful impact on the story and the gaming community at large. The biggest thing about this arc and this speech in particular is how relatable it is to so many people. I will start with how I relate to it and go into another one of my stories from my life. If you've seen my video about cognitive dissonance, you know that I was raised Mormon. I'm actually the 6th kid out of 7 in my family. As a child, I was very shy and didn't talk at all until I was 5 years old. After that, I only really talked to my family. I was raised in a very cliquish Mormon community and I felt very ostracized. I believe that I was even bullied, but I blocked a lot of that out, so I can't tell you for sure. When I was 6, almost 7, my best friend moved into the community. She is half Navajo and a quarter Punjabi East Indian. Because she looked different and was different from the other kids, she was also ostracized. I was the only one who was genuinely friendly to her, and she got a glimpse of my more hyper side one time when I had a birthday party. I continued to not talk up until 6th grade when I started middle school. Suddenly I was around a lot more kids and I continued to retreat into my shell. Soon I became a loner and I remember always wandering the halls feeling super depressed. I desperately wanted to have friends, but I didn't know how to do that. Then one day that friend invited me to have lunch with her and her friends. Then everything changed for me. I came out of my shell, realized my dream to make music, and I started to become the confident woman I am today. People in that community continue to treat me like the weird kid, but more of the hyper weird artsy kid that I was becoming. I was usually doodling in my notebooks or writing song lyrics and generally not paying attention. And whenever I tried talking to people, they would turn around and talk to someone else. That did bother me, but I did find more friends that accepted me for who I am, and I began to see that the people who aren't worth my time, and I started to really care less. That best friend continued to be a constant for me to this day, and we're now 30. Every time either one of us has had a huge life-changing event, we were always there for each other. When I left Mormonism 6 years ago, she was there for me. She also left the church, by the way, and defended me against those from my past who criticized me for how I left. When even many members of my family turned their backs on me, she was always there for me. I know that I wouldn't be who I am today if it wasn't for her. That's the power of finding people who accept you and love you for who you are. It's powerful that Aerith got to have that, and we get to see it in a game like Final Fantasy VII. I know that there are many of you who probably have similar stories of feeling isolated, ignored, ostracized, traumatized, bullied, etc. for being who you are. Many of you might be queer, people of color, disabled, have mental illnesses, etc. that can relate to this. I hope that you have also found friends and community that have helped you while you navigate who you are and everything that means. I hope that you also feel like my channel is a safe space for you to be who you are and to bond over this wonderful game and any other game that I will cover on this channel. Also, my door is always open to you to accept you for who you are. Thank you so much for watching. Please like this video if it resonates with you. Please comment what you liked about the speech, Aerith's arc, and how you relate to it. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe to my channel. I release video essays twice a month on Wednesdays, and I stream every week. I'm currently streaming Final Fantasy X It's a really fun time over there, so I hope that you're able to join in. Also, this is a reminder to please be respectful in the comments. If you disagree, please do so respectfully. Any comment that contains hate speech, insults, or is divisive in any way that doesn't promote a healthy debate will be removed in an effort to keep this channel a safe space. And with that, I will see you all next time. Bye!